Imagine for a second that you're standing directly in front of a window.
Okay.
But this isn't some modern double-pane glass. It's old. It's rippled. And it is just absolutely caked in 60 years of grime.
Like dust, soot, city smoke.
Exactly. The residue of cooking oil, all of it. And you press your face against it, right? You're squinting, really trying to see through that haze.
Yeah.
And on the other side, you see a room you know better than your own hands. You see people you loved with a ferocity that still burns.
Wow.
You see a version of yourself, too.
Yeah.
Young, unburdened, whole. And it is right there. It is agonizingly close.
But you can't reach it.
No. You can see it, but because of that glass, you can never, ever touch it. And here's the brutal reality of this situation. If you try to wipe it clean...
We'll break it?
Or break it, yeah. You might just shatter the only thing holding your current reality together.
That is just the perfect central metaphor, the dusty window pane. It really beats at the very heart of the material we're covering today in this deep dive. It captures that specific aching tension of looking back at a history that you just can no longer inhabit.
Which is such a universal feeling, but here it's so specific.
It is. It's a metaphor for the diaspora experience, certainly, but specifically, it's about the Chinese diaspora of the mid-20th century.
A time when history didn't just move forward. It completely fractured.
Fractured is the word. And we're tracking a really incredible narrative today.
We are. We're going deep into that fracture. But, and this is the interesting part, we aren't starting with a history book or a tactical map of the Chinese Civil War.
No, we're starting somewhere mundane.
Almost aggressively mundane.
Mm-hmm.
We are standing in the aisles of a 99 ranch market in Los Angeles.
The contrast is just brilliant.
It's 2008. If you've ever been to a 99 ranch, you know the exact sensory profile of this place.
Fluorescent lights, linoleum floors.
Right. It smelled like bok choy and live seafood tanks and floor wax.
Just an everyday grocery run.
It's a Tuesday. It's boring. And there's this elderly man named Howard. He's standing there inspecting bananas.
She's grieving, right?
Yeah. He's a widower. He's grieving his late wife. He's lonely. And he is just trying to get through this mundane chore without falling apart.
Which is a heavy burden in such a sterile environment.
It is. And then over the supermarket speakers.
Which are usually playing what, generic pop?
Generic pop, yeah. Or announcements about discounts on big bags of rice.
Right.
But instead, something impossible happens. Mozart's Violin Concerto No. 5 starts playing.
Which is an incredibly jarring choice for a grocery store soundtrack.
Completely.
That is high art in a place of literal commerce. It's a massive disruption of the mundane.
Exactly. And it catches Howard's attention immediately.
Right.
He looks up. He's probably irritated or maybe just confused.
Sure.
And he sees a woman a few feet away. She's thumping a Korean melon to check for ripeness.
Just a normal gesture.
Just thumping a melon. But in that split second, that dusty window pane we talked about,
It wipes clean.
it completely wipes clean. He doesn't see an elderly woman in a grocery store in LA anymore. He sees the girl he fell in love with 60 years ago in a Shanghai alleyway.
This is The Hook of Homeseeking by Karissa Chen, and I really want to be clear right off the bat here for everyone listening.
Yeah.
Let's set the stage.
If you think this is just a sweet romance about lost loves reuniting in their twilight years,
Like a Hallmark movie.
right, like a Hallmark setup, you are only scratching the surface. This book is a massive, sprawling dissection of a community that was entirely shattered.
It's intense.
It's about what happens when a civil war takes a single tight-knit neighborhood and splinters it across 3 entirely different geographies.
Shanghai, Taiwan, and Hong Kong.
Exactly. Over 6 decades, it poses this incredibly devastating question.
Can you ever really go home?
Yes, and when you look at the person who holds the keys to your past...
The one person who remembers who you were before the world broke.
Right. Do you see a stranger? Or do you see the only person who actually knows who you really are? That gives me chills. Because we have a massive amount to unpack here today. We have a story spanning 60 years. We have these deep philosophical concepts to explore.
Like the concept of Ming versus Yun.
Right, fate versus fortune, which is so crucial to understand the Chinese philosophical approach to tragedy and survival.
It's vital. And we have a narrative that just completely refuses to give us easy answers about closure.
It's not about fixing the past.
No. It's about surviving it.
So let's start at the very beginning, before the separation, before the grocery store. We need to go back to Shanghai, 1947.
The calm before the storm?
Yeah. And I want to really ground us here because I think a lot of people, when you say historical Shanghai, They have a very specific image in their heads.
They think of 1920s jazz age glamour,
It-
lovers clubs.
Exactly. Or they think of the modern skyline, the massive skyscrapers.
But 1947 is a very different beast.
Very different.
To really understand what these characters lose, you have to understand the literal texture of what they had. And Chen does this incredible job of immersing us in the Longtang.
The Longtang. Let's define that for the listener who might not know the term. It translates roughly to alleyway, right?
Yes, alleyway or lane.
But in the book, it feels like so much more than just a street. It feels like an actual character in the story.
It absolutely is a character. You have to think of the Longtang as the capillary system of old Shanghai.
The capillary system. I like that.
These are neighborhoods defined by really narrow lanes, and they're lined with shikumen houses.
Shikumen meaning stone gate.
Right, stone gate houses. And they're this fascinating blend of Western and Chinese architecture. But socially speaking, the Longtang is a living, breathing organism.
How so?
It's a space where the public and private spheres just completely collapse into each other. You don't just live inside your house, you live in the lane.
The book describes it almost like a symphony, a daily symphony.
Literally. It's a soundscape. The book opens with the sounds of the morning, and it is overwhelming.
Yeah, give us the sensory details.
You have the night soil man trundling his cart down the lane to collect the waste, and he's ringing his bell.
Okay, let's pause there for a second. The night soil man. That is a very polite way of saying the guy who collects the sewage buckets, right?
Precisely.
Because there's no indoor plumbing in these houses.
No plumbing at all. It's a very visceral reality. You literally wake up to the smell of drains and the clanging of this bell.
Not exactly a peaceful morning alarm.
Not at all. And then right after that, you have the porridge vendor singing her specific song to sell breakfast.
So it's crowded. It's loud.
It's so loud. It smells like frying dough and raw sewage and coal smoke. It is a total sensory overload.
And these shikumen houses, they aren't mansions. They're incredibly tight quarters.
Very tight.
You hear everything. You hear your neighbors fighting, loving, cooking. The book makes a massive point that there is zero privacy. But at the same time, there's this immense, almost suffocating comfort in it. You are never alone.
That is the key distinction. In the West, we often value privacy and space above all else.
Yeah, having a big yard, a fence.
Right. But in the Longtang, security comes from the exact lack of space. You are watched constantly, yes, but you are also held.
Held by the community.
Exactly. And in this incredibly dense ecosystem, we meet our two protagonists.
Suchi and Haiwen.
First, we have Suchi. She's 16 years old. She's really spirited. She absolutely loves to sing. But she is keenly aware of her station in life.
Let's dig into that station, because class tension is huge here. Her father's a bookseller, but he's struggling.
He is. And there is a real political edge to him, too.
Because it's 1947.
Exactly. The Chinese Civil War between the nationalists, the KMT, and the communists is just raging.
And the nationalists control Shanghai at this point.
Right. And Suchi's father is secretly printing leftist journals on the back of his shop.
Oh.
Yeah. In nationalist-controlled Shanghai, that is a literal death sentence if he's caught.
So she's growing up with this intense undercurrent of fear. She knows her family's position is completely precarious.
Extremely precarious. And then there's Haiwen.
The boy down the lane.
The boy down the lane. Haiwen, who we later know as Howard in the grocery store.
Right.
He is kind of the golden boy of the Longtang. He plays the violin. His father was educated in Britain.
So his family has money.
Or at least the appearance of it, which matters just as much. They have Western clocks in their house. They drink coffee instead of just tea. They have connections in Hong Kong.
He represents a kind of cosmopolitan future.
A future that Suchi feels completely excluded from.
There's this one detail in the book that I absolutely loved. The painted bunny.
Oh, the painted bunny. It's so beautiful.
It sounds so trivial when you just say it out loud, but it becomes this massive emotional totem for them.
It really does.
Suchi and her sister painted this really crude white rabbit on their back door. And for Haiwen, that rabbit becomes a landmark.
A secret landmark.
Yeah. It's the beacon that guides them through the crowded lane to her.
It represents the sheer innocence of their connection before everything falls apart. It's just a childish piece of graffiti, but it becomes a holy site for their friendship.
But even in that innocence, even in their youth, there is this disparity we need to talk about. The class difference.
Suchi views the Wang family, Haiwen's family, as completely mysterious and extraordinary.
Because of the coffee and the violin?
Right. She internalizes that difference. She feels like a mismatched door to him.
A mismatched door. That's a great phrase.
She's terrified she just isn't good enough for his family.
Which is such a universally relatable feeling of first love, that insecurity, that sort of why me feeling.
Completely.
But here, it is massively compounded by the political instability surrounding them. We really can't separate their romance from the war.
No, the war isn't just a backdrop, it's an active participant in their relationship.
The background noise of their romance is literally the sound of an economy collapsing.
And this is something Karissa Chen captures so well in the text. The hyperinflation.
Suchi's father is constantly stressing about Fabi, the currency.
Because it's devaluing overnight.
I've read about this historical period. It sounds made up, but people were literally taking wheelbarrows full of cash to buy a single bag of rice.
Yes. You had to buy your rice immediately in the morning.
It was by the evening.
Because by the evening, the money you had in the morning would be totally worthless.
That level of instability is hard to fathom.
There's this constant hum of anxiety. So for Suchi and Haiwen, it's not just will he kiss me, it's will we eat tomorrow?
And will the secret police raid our house tonight and take my father?
Exactly. It heightens every single emotion because the stakes of basic survival are so immediate.
And that tension, that anxiety, it eventually snaps. This is the big turning point of the book.
The fracture.
The moment the window pane gets installed between them. And it's not some slow drift apart. It is a sudden, violent fracture.
It happens incredibly fast, which is very historically accurate. The communist forces are closing in on Shanghai. The KMT is getting increasingly desperate.
And Haiwen is drafted. Or, wait, he enlists, right. He enlists in the KMT army.
He does.
See, that confused me at first. If he's this sensitive, violin-playing boy, why on earth would he join the nationalist army?
It's incredibly complex. It's partly to prove something, I think. To prove his manhood, perhaps, or his duty to the nation.
A sense of obligation.
But mostly, he feels he has absolutely no choice. The draft is aggressive. If he doesn't go willingly, he brings intense shame and potential danger to his whole family.
So he trains the violin for a rifle.
It's a sacrifice of his very nature for his duty.
And simultaneously across the lane, Suchi's parents make a desperate decision of their own.
To protect their daughters.
Right. They decide to send Suchi and her sister Sulan to Hong Kong.
And they frame it as a business trip. Go help your father's contacts.
But everyone in the Longtang knows what it really is. It's an evacuation.
It's fleeing. And the departure scene between Suchi and Haiwen is heartbreaking.
It really is.
Because of what doesn't happen. They don't get a movie star goodbye.
There's no dramatic kiss in the pouring rain.
No. Haiwen leaves his violin, his most prized possession, the literal symbol of his soul, leaning against that door.
Against the door with the painted bunny.
Yes. He abandons his music to go to war.
And the way he describes leaving her, he talks about the unbearable loneliness of looking up at Suchi's window one last time.
He creeps into her room while she's sleeping.
He touches her cheek.
And then he leaves. He doesn't wake her up. He doesn't actually say goodbye. He just disappears.
And that silence, that lack of a proper vocalized goodbye, that is the ghost that haunts the next 60 years of their lives.
It's the unresolved chord at the end of a song.
It leaves everything entirely open-ended, which psychologically makes the wound impossible to close. You can't grieve someone if you don't know if the story's over.
Exactly. So the fracture happens, the Longtang is left behind, and now we have two very different trajectories.
This is where the deep dive into the historical sources gets really interesting to me, because we get to see how history pushes people onto completely different tracks.
We so often lump refugees or the diaspora into one monolithic category.
But their experiences are wildly different.
Wildly. We have to talk about the geopolitical reality they step into, the difference between the Iron Curtain and the Bamboo Curtain.
Right, because we hear Iron Curtain all the time regarding Europe, the division between East and West.
But in Asia, the Bamboo Curtain fell between communist China and the rest of the world, and once you were on one side of it, you couldn't just casually cross back.
It was a physical impossibility.
Yes. Let's follow Haiwen first. He ends up in Taiwan.
And I think for a lot of listeners, the history of Taiwan in this specific period, 1949, is a bit of a blind spot.
Right. People know modern Taiwan, semiconductors, bustling democracy, Taipei 101.
But 1949 Taiwan is dark.
It's the era of the White Terror. This is absolutely crucial context for his mindset. The nationalists retreat to Taiwan after losing the mainland, but they are incredibly paranoid.
They fear communist spies are everywhere among them.
Yes, so they institute strict martial law. And that martial law lasts for almost 40 years.
4 decades.
And there is this immense volatile tension between the Waishengren, the mainlanders who just arrived, like Haiwen, and the local Taiwanese population.
So Haiwen isn't welcomed as a hero for fighting.
Far from it. He's viewed as an outsider, an occupier in some eyes. He is miserable.
The book describes him living in a shack.
Building roads and tunnels through the mountains, he's gone from this cultured, violin-playing, sensitive boy in Shanghai to a manual laborer living in constant fear.
He speaks the wrong dialect. He eats the wrong food.
He is utterly isolated.
There's a story he tells later in the book about a friend of his in Taiwan named Li Xin.
Oh, the Li Xin anecdote.
It completely encapsulates the sheer desperation of this exile. Li Xin tries to swim back to Shanghai.
It's a horrifying but deeply poignant story. Li Xin is standing on the coast, looking across the Taiwan Strait.
Which is, what, 100 miles across?
It's about 680 kilometers to Shanghai specifically, though the strait itself is narrower. But to physically swim it, it is impossible.
It's suicide.
But Li Xin jumps into the sea anyway, because the longing for home is stronger than human logic.
And he drowns.
He drowns, of course. But Haiwen understands the impulse. It represents that illogical, desperate need to return.
And psychologically, facing that impossibility, Haiwen just shuts down. He stops playing music entirely.
That part is devastating.
It really struck me. It's like he amputated that part of his own soul to survive the reality of his body.
He did. And eventually he marries a woman named Lin Ye.
But it's not a grand romance.
No, it's mostly because he feels he should. It's a marriage of survival and societal expectation, not passion.
He describes feeling like a stranger in his own hometown.
He's building a life, he has children, he eventually immigrates to America, but it all feels like a performance.
He is acting the role of Howard, the successful immigrant father.
But inside, he's still Haiwen on the doorstep.
Meanwhile, Suchi is in Hong Kong. And her trajectory is fascinating because it completely shatters the illusion of Hong Kong as this glamorous refuge.
We all think of Hong Kong movies, neon lights, the skyline.
Right? And Suchi arrives thinking it's going to be like the movies too. High-rises, British sophistication.
Instead, she's living in a shanty town.
The reality check is brutal.
We have to picture the refugee camps of 1950s Hong Kong. There's trash everywhere, people are desperate, there are massive fires that sweep through these wooden shacks and destroy everything.
And to survive this, Suchi basically has to kill the innocent girl she was in Shanghai.
She has to transform.
She changes her name, she
Yeah.
becomes Suke, and she becomes a nightclub singer.
Which, we have to note, in that era carried a very heavy social stigma.
Being a bar girl.
Right. Being a bar girl wasn't looked upon kindly. It was heavily associated with sex work in the minds of polite society.
But for Suke, singing becomes this incredible act of necromancy.
Yes. She says in the book, every song was a prayer.
She's singing to conjure the ghosts of her parents, of Haiwen.
But the grief almost breaks her.
It brings her right to the edge. There's a scene on the Star Ferry that is absolutely pivotal to her arc.
The Star Ferry is so iconic. It crosses Victoria Harbor. She is standing at the rail, looking down at the dark water.
And she is just overcome with the certainty that everyone she has ever loved is dead.
She assumes her parents were killed in the revolution. She assumes Haiwen died fighting in the war.
So she's ready to jump. She is standing at the rail, ready to end it all.
And then she hallucinates.
She sees Haiwen.
She sees him sitting on a bench on the ferry. And that vision, that ghost of him, pulls her back from the edge.
It's survival, but it comes at a terrible cost. Because right after that, she enters a marriage of convenience.
With a wealthy businessman named Lam Sai-kung.
He offers her security, a way out of the slums.
But he is incredibly controlling. He wants a beautiful trophy wife, not an equal partner.
She has to trade her fundamental freedom for physical safety.
So both of our protagonists are living these Plan B lives. They are married to other people. They are raising children.
But there is this massive silence in the very center of their existence. It's like a black hole that just sucks in all their real emotions.
And the tragic irony of the whole situation is that they both assume the worst about the other.
Suchi thinks Haiwen is dead.
And Haiwen thinks he abandoned Suchi. And they are both entirely consumed by guilt over it.
Suchi thinks her last words to him, which were angry, if I recall, she thinks she cursed him.
And Haiwen feels he failed his duty as a son and a lover by leaving.
You mentioned the names earlier, Suchi becoming Suke, and Haiwen becoming Howard. There's an author's note on languages at the beginning of the book.
Yes, the note on languages.
I really want to touch on that because it feels deeply significant to the overall theme of identity.
It's a crucial detail to the analysis. Karissa Chen notes that as these characters move through these different geographical regions, their names organically change.
Suchi to Sake in Cantonese, then Su in English.
And Haiwen to Howard. It highlights how displacement isn't just about geography, it's about identity.
Losing your name is the first step in losing your home.
Precisely. When you become Howard, are you still the boy who played violin in the Longtang? Or is Howard a new person entirely, built as a shield?
That is such a powerful way to put it, a shield. We see them put on these linguistic masks to survive in America or Hong Kong, but the person underneath is still trapped in 1947.
They are frozen in time, they are performing the present, but they are living purely in the past.
Now, usually in these kinds of diaspora stories, the narrative focuses entirely on the ones who left.
The ones who got out.
Right, the ones who made it to America or Taiwan. But Homeseeking does something I rarely see in this genre.
It stays behind.
It doesn't forget the people who didn't get on the boat.
It absolutely refuses to let us forget the mothers. Yuping Haiwen's mother and Haiwen and Suchi's mother.
They are left in the Longtang as the bamboo curtain falls.
And they form this incredible, unlikely friendship.
Which is surprising, given what we talked about earlier. In the beginning, they were just neighbors, separated by that class divide.
But after the children leave, the class divide vanishes. They become literal lifelines for each other.
Because shared grief is a powerful bonder.
There is a visual image here that just stays with me long after reading. Yu Ping hanging a red paper lantern outside the shikumen.
Every single night.
Every night. It's a beacon.
Even through the storms.
Even when it's raining. She says it's for the spirits of the children to find their way back home.
But what's more dangerous, she does it even when the Cultural Revolution begins.
We really need to pause on that context. The Cultural Revolution. This is the late 60s and 70s now.
Why would hanging a paper lantern be dangerous?
Because the Cultural Revolution was heavily focused on destroying the four olds.
Old customs, old culture, old habits, and old ideas.
Exactly. So a red lantern hanging out for spirits, that is superstition. That is classified as feudal thinking.
Oh, wow.
Yu Ping is risking being publicly beaten, shamed, or denounced by the Red Guards just for this simple act of sentimentality.
It's an act of profound defiance. It's a mother's love overriding the terror of the state.
It is. We also get a glimpse into the deep bitterness of those who stayed, primarily through Haiwen's sister, Junjun.
Right, because when we finally hear from her later, it's not a joyful, happy reunion. There's real resentment there.
And rightfully so. We in the West often romanticize the exile, the brave refugee starting over, but the people who stayed suffered immensely.
While Haiwen is struggling with his identity in Taiwan and America, Yunjun is living through literal terror.
She talks about purity tests we could never pass.
Because her family used to have money.
Because they had money. Because the father liked Western things. Because they had relatives who fled abroad.
They were targets.
They were labeled black elements by the regime. She deeply resents that her brother got to escape.
Even though his escape was its own kind of psychological prison.
Exactly. But from her perspective, she bore the physical brunt of history, so he didn't have to.
The book brings up the concept of paper daughters and paper sons. Howard actually mentions this later in the text, how Chinese immigrants would fake lineages to get into America.
Right, referencing the Chinese Exclusion Act era, faking a family on paper just to survive and get past immigration.
But Chen contrasts this beautifully with the paper memories the mothers hold on to in Shanghai.
They have these letters that they write but can never send.
They hide them in the brick walls of the Longtang house.
These little scraps of paper are the only connection they have left to the children they believe might still be alive somewhere out there.
It's so heartbreaking. The children abroad are faking new identities on paper to move forward, and the mothers are hoarding paper in the walls to hold on to the past.
Precisely. It's a desperate preservation of history in the face of total state erasure.
Let's fast forward. We need to get to the reunion. It's 2008. We are back in that 99 Ranch Market in Los Angeles.
The impossible reunion. It's been 60 years.
Howard is a widower now. His wife Linye has passed away from Parkinson's. He's just living in this gray haze of grief.
And Such, she is a grandmother now, living with her adult son, Samson.
The recognition scene in the grocery store is masterfully written.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't shy away from acknowledging their age.
Right. Howard doesn't instantly recognize her face.
It's sagging, it's aged. It's been 60 years.
But he recognizes the eyes. The book says they are caramel and bright.
And the laugh. He hears her laugh and says it sounds like spring rain upon glass.
And the dialogue in this moment is so beautifully sparse. It's not some grand sweeping monologue about destiny.
He just says, Wang Haiwen.
Because she recognizes him, and she just says, so it is you.
So it is you. That's all that needs to be said.
It carries the weight of 60 entire years in 4 words. It completely collapses time.
It's an acknowledgement that the mask has finally fallen off. Howard is Haiwen again. Sue is Suchi again.
And so they start meeting for lunch, secretly at first.
And this is where the dynamic between them gets so fascinating. You'd think after 60 years they would talk about their lives.
Tell me about your kids, your spouse, your career.
Right. I was an engineer. I was a singer in Hong Kong. But they don't do that.
No, they completely skip the middle. They almost exclusively talk about the Longtang. They obsess over the 1940s.
Why do you think that is? Is it just denial of the lives they ended up living?
I don't think it's denial. I think it's validation.
Validation.
Because they are the only 2 people left in their respective worlds who actually remember it. Think about it. To everyone else, their American children, their neighbors in California, that old Shanghai is basically a myth.
It's just a story old people tell at the dinner table.
Exactly. But for Howard and Sue, it was viscerally real. By talking about it, they prove to each other that they didn't imagine it.
They validate each other's existence.
They are reconstructing a world that no longer exists on any map, brick by verbal brick.
But there's a serious conflict here between them. They don't have the same goal in these lunches.
Howard wants to reclaim the past.
He admits he is greedy. He wants the life he didn't get to live with her. He wants to know what would have happened if he hadn't left that violin on the doorstep.
He wants the romance back.
And Sue is highly protective. She has this philosophy of, we can't be greedy.
She believes they must be content with what they managed to salvage from life.
She's afraid that if they dig too deep into what could have been, they'll lose the fragile peace they've managed to find in old age.
She's incredibly pragmatic. Remember, she survived the slums of Hong Kong. She knows from experience that dreaming is dangerous.
And she wants to keep the past under glass, where it's safe from the messy reality of the present.
But the catalyst for breaking the stalemate between them is Samson, Sue's son.
Samson's a great character. He represents the second generation, the American-born generation looking at their immigrant parents.
He sees his mother, who has always been this strong, somewhat reserved, tragic figure, suddenly light up.
He sees her acting like a teenager again.
And he encourages the connection, he pushes them, and then Howard drops a bombshell.
Right, because Howard hasn't just been reminiscing. He's been digging.
He's been in contact with family back in Shanghai.
And he finds out that Suchi's mother, Si-In, might actually still be alive. Or at least she was very recently.
This changes everything. It completely shifts the narrative from we are reminiscing about the past to we physically have to go back right now.
So they get on a plane, they return to Shanghai in 2008.
The year of the Beijing Olympics.
China is officially arriving on the world stage. It is booming.
And this is where the dusty window pane metaphor literally shatters.
Because the return isn't the triumphant, weeping homecoming Howard imagined in his head.
They go to find the Longtang, Sifuli.
And it's rundown.
It's slated for demolition. Or gentrification, depending on how you look at it.
It's filled with strangers who don't know them. It's dirty. There's laundry hanging everywhere on bamboo poles.
Which Howard beautifully but tragically describes as ghosts waving.
The specific tragedy here is that the physical space still exists, but the spirit of it is totally gone.
Howard has this crushing realization. He thinks home was now California. Or was it?
He realizes he's a ghost in his own childhood home. The people living there look at him like a tourist.
Like a wealthy American tourist.
That is the ultimate diaspora dilemma. You leave your home and you spend your entire life missing it.
But when you finally return, you realize the country moved on without you.
You are frozen in 1947, but Shanghai is in 2008.
You don't fully belong in America, but you don't belong in China anymore either. You are culturally homeless. The Longtang of his memory is gone, replaced by this gritty, hyper-modern reality.
But while Howard is having this profound crisis of place in the alleyway, the book shifts to the spiritual climax.
And this, for me, was the most emotional part of the entire story.
It gets a little metaphysical here, which is a brilliant structural choice by the author.
We shift perspective back in time slightly to Yu Ping Howard's mother on her deathbed.
She is drifting between life and death. And in her delirium, she sees them.
She sees Dudu, that's Haiwen's childhood nickname, and Suchi.
She describes them as birds on the wind.
She hallucinates the sound of the violin playing again, and in this moment, the book transcends the harsh physical reality.
Because Howard and Sue arrive too late physically, they don't get to have a conversation with her. She dies before they reach the bedside.
But metaphysically, they are right on time.
There is this profound insight Yuping has right before she dies.
Mm.
She realizes she doesn't need to forgive her son for leaving her behind.
No, she realizes her ultimate job as a mother was to protect them by letting them go.
Wow.
If she had forced them to stay, they might have been crushed by the war or the Cultural Revolution.
So letting them go, even though it broke her own heart and left her alone, was her ultimate act of love.
It completely reframes the idea of abandonment. It wasn't abandonment at all, it was release. She pushed them out of the nest so they could survive the storm.
And the resolution comes through Sion, Suchi's mother. She's there at Yuping's bedside. She acts as the spiritual bridge.
She tells Haiwen in spirit, "I promised I'll guide him to you."
It's the fulfillment of that red lantern.
The mothers kept the channel open. They kept the memory alive in the darkness so that the children could eventually return, even if it took a lifetime to do it.
It redefines what home actually is. It suggests that home isn't the physical bricks of the shikumen. It's not a spot on a map.
Home is the people who carry the memory of you.
As long as Sion and Yuping remembered them, they had a home in Shanghai.
And now that the mothers are gone, Howard and Sue have each other to hold that memory.
They become each other's home.
It's a stunning resolution.
So what does this all mean for us, the readers? We've tracked them from the alleyways in 1947 to the grocery store in 2008 to the deathbed.
I think we have to bring it back to Ming versus Yoon.
Yes. The fortune teller scene. We skimmed past it earlier, but it feels incredibly vital to unpack now.
Early in the book, a fortune teller explains these two concepts. Ming is destiny.
The river.
Right, it's the river. It's the innate circumstances you are born into. The era, the country, your family, the war. You cannot change the river.
The Chinese Civil War was their Ming.
Exactly. And Yun.
Yun is fortune. It's the act of swimming.
Yes. You can choose to swim with the current or you can swim upstream. You can't stop the river from flowing, but you can navigate your path through the water.
Howard and Sue couldn't fight the river of history. The Ming swept them violently apart.
But they spent 60 years swimming upstream.
They made choices. They survived the slums. They survived the labor camps. They raised families.
And eventually all that swimming brought them right back to each other in that grocery store aisle. They defied the astronomical odds.
It's a really beautiful way to look at human agency. We can't control the times we live in or the tragedies that strike the world, but we can control how we navigate the water.
And Homeseeking ultimately suggests that we are all doing this. Every single one of us is homeseeking.
We are all looking for that one place or that one person where we are truly known.
It makes me think about that question we started with at the top of the show.
Yeah. If you went back to the place you loved most as a child, your personal version of the long tang, would you find it?
Or is that place just gone forever because you are gone? That is the deeply provocative thought Chen leaves us with.
Maybe we can never truly go back. Maybe the dusty window pane is there for a reason, to protect us from the disappointment of change.
But maybe, just maybe, if you're lucky enough, you find someone who remembers the room on the other side of the glass.
Someone who remembers the painted bunny on the door.
And that has to be enough.
It has to be. The image that lingers for me, long after turning the last page, is that red lantern.
Hanging in the rain.
Hanging in the rain, burning in the memory, guiding the diaspora home.
A light that refuses to go out.
Homeseeking by Karissa Chen. It's a profound, shattering journey worth taking. Thank you for diving deep with us today.
It was a pleasure to unpack this.
And to you, listening, keep seeking. We'll see you the next deep dive.